Are not too positive with people saying it should work. Wat zei?
Gewoon niet zo'n luid op spreken.
Nou, er komen toch nog wel wat mensen binnen.
2 voor 11. 2 voor 11.
Ja.
Druppelt het binnen en 5 voor 11.
5 over 11, dan komen er nog een paar binnen. Koen, oh ja, jij doet het met een gewone microfoon. Ja, oké. Ik vroeg me af of jij niet dit ding nodig had. Nee. Ja, precies. Ja. Krijg je hier na afloop een evaluatie van je praatje?
Good morning. I wish you all very welcome to this session about quality service management. Let me first introduce myself. I'm Koen Schelkens from Belnet, the Belgian Research Network. And I'm chair for this session. Quality service management. This session is closely related to the task force for lifecycle and portfolio management of Terena. Today, the lifecycle and portfolio management task force focuses especially on the different stages of a life cycle of a service, and more specific on the non-technical aspects, but also on management of service portfolios at NRNs. And today we have here 3 very interesting presentations. First of all, Dennis Beckers from Surfnet will focus on analyzing user needs, and this in relation to the lifecycle and portfolio management in an NRN. Secondly, we have Maurice van den Akker, who will give us some bright ideas about how to stimulate the adoption of services at the user base. And thirdly, we have Victor Rice from HeNet, who will give us a presentation about service level management and the process how to integrate service level agreements within your service offer. So we first start with Dennis Beckers, who is at present account manager with Surfnet and focusing especially on analyzing user needs. Dennis, thank you.
Thank you for the introduction. Is my microphone working? Yeah? Okay, thank you. Let's see if I can get my presentation on the screen.
Here.
Okay, well, good morning, everybody. Thank you for coming here. The title of the presentation is, well, what do you want from us? And, well, my name is Dennis Beckers. I work at Surfnet as an account advisor. And I am there responsible for all contacts with research institutions and cultural institutions, and also with the user research project. We at Surfnet noticed for the last couple of years that the institutions that we connect are becoming more critical and more demanding about our services and our portfolio that we provide. And we think that has two reasons. The first is that our services are becoming more mission critical for the institutions, and also that commercial ISPs is always trying to close the gap in terms of costs and services that they provide. So for NRNs, it is very important to align the portfolio of services to the needs of the institution that we connect. And well, user research is a very important tool for that. Before I will talk about user research, I will shortly go into the role of user research in portfolio management. And I will also very shortly introduce Surfnet. Surfnet is the Dutch NRN. We develop and manage our national research network. We are located in Utrecht. We are a not-for-profit organization with about 60 people. We connect 180 institutions, might be a little bit more, now I have to recount them, but about 180, 185, with in total about 750,000 end users. This is how we are funded. A little bit over half of it is coming from exploitation of our network, and the other part is from innovation funding. And this is where this budget is going to. As you can see, 80% of all our budget is pumped into the network infrastructure, the fibers, the equipment, our network operations system. And the other 20% are allocated to all kinds of other services that we provide over our network, as content delivery, read, streaming video, group applications, end-user support, security, and authentication and authorization. So that about Surfnet. Traditionally, NRNs are very technology push-oriented. And that is not so strange because that is also our raison d'être, our why we are here on this planet, especially for the people that are funding us. Being a technology push organization means that you're also very innovative. You always are looking what kind of new innovations there are. But it also implies the risk that you are not looking enough to what users actually want, what they actually need. And well, on the other side, there's the other extreme, the demand pool, and that means that you're only looking at what your customers want. But this implies a kind of lack of innovation, and therefore an NRN is not very distinct anymore from a commercial ISP. So we have to find a kind of middle ground between technology push and demand pull. This is the life cycle model. Probably you have seen it before. It's somewhere on a poster here in the hallway. But we adapted it a little bit. And as you can see, there are two inputs into this model. Technology development and needs of institutions. And by using those both inputs, we try to find a kind of balance between technology push and demand pull. Today I will focus most on the user research, so the right bottom part of this model. This model shows the complete life cycle of every service that we provide to our customer organizations. As you can see, there are two inputs. There's a feasibility study to see if it's really going to work. Then we have to develop this service. The next step is new, stimulating use and support. This is the latest addition in phase. If I skip a little bit forward in my presentation, you will see that we provide a lot of services, but not many users know them. So stimulating use and support is a very important topic, and well, the next presentation by Maurice will focus on this part. Then the service will go into production, and in the end, it will also one day will be shut down again. And as you can see, there's a constant feedback loop to see if we need more technology scouting or more user research. So, how did we do this research, user research? SurfNet conducts user research since 1991. Every few years we do a big survey among all our end users, so all the teachers, students, researchers. But last year we broadened this research to also include the institutions and special interest groups. And as you can see, in 2006, over 3,000 end users participated. 97 of our institutions, about 3/4 of the complete number of institutions, and 4 special interest groups. By using this user research, we try to see, well, what do they want from us? What do they need? How does our portfolio align to what these institutions actually need? And also we wanted to know what our strong points and weak points are of our services. How do they look to SurfNet? And we also decided to do this yearly, so it will become a kind of monitor, and we can compare the results of every year with the previous years. This slide shows the research methodology that we used. As you see, we made a combination of both qualitative and quantitative research methods. For every group, we started with qualitative interviews, and we did it because, as I said, this was especially for organizations and special interest groups, the first time that we did this. So, of course, we could make a kind of survey, but we also wanted to know if the users, if this survey contains all the important themes according to the users. So we started to talk to the users. That resulted in 3 small reports about these research lines. We analyzed the results, and then based on that we built quantitative surveys. That was from the results of these surveys, we draw our conclusions, and we organized a synthesis, a kind of meeting with 20 people from all kinds of different organizations to see if they indeed agreed with the conclusions we draw from the results. So for the institutions, we started with 10 interviews. We had a kind of half-open interview list with themes we thought were important. And we wanted to see if these themes indeed were the themes that also users found important. And we wanted to test the questionnaire to see if it really contained all the necessary questions. Here's a small list of the themes that came out of it as important. And for building this survey, it's always, you have to make the difficult decision between making a long survey that nobody fills in or making a very short survey where you have a very high response rate. So you really have to sometimes kill your darlings and really get rid of some questions that you feel are very important, but it just makes the questionnaire too long. For research among the special interest groups, we used an adapted version of the questionnaire that we developed for the institutions. And we discussed it as a kind of, again, half-open interview during regular meetings, or if this was not possible because some special interest groups only come together once every 3 months or maybe once every half year, we sent them this questionnaire and asked them to fill it in. It was very revealing to be with this regular meeting and talk about how they looked at our portfolio and what they think about SurfNet. And for the research among end users, we started with a number of focus groups. We hired a research company that facilitated the whole process. So they wrote the reports and they recorded the interviews and made reports from that. And they also had a very nice room with a one-way mirror. And we put some researchers there and another group of students and a group of staff. And the moderator was from this research bureau. And he walked through a number of themes, and they would discuss these themes. And we were sitting on the other side of the mirror. These people did know that they were observed, and it was also recorded. And it was very good to hear end users talk about your organization. Sometimes you really wanted to intervene, but that was not possible, of course. So we learned a lot during this, from these talks. And after these focus group sessions finished, we did this online survey with over 3,000 participants. So the conclusion of this whole research project was the synthesis. We invited 20 representatives of institutions, of the special interest groups, and of these end user groups. And we presented them our findings, the raw data, the conclusions we drew from those findings, and what kind of actions we were planning. And we asked them whether they would support our conclusions. And luckily for us, they did. And these conclusions have been instrumental for decisions that we made about our portfolio for the next year, and also for our activity plans for innovation projects. I will now show shortly some results. Name recognition remains low, especially among end users. Everybody uses SurfNet, but often they don't know that. That they don't know SurfNet is well, it's a pity, but it's not a very big problem. What is a big problem is that they also don't know what services we provide. And, well, we think we have some pretty neat services, but they don't know about it, so they don't use it. And therefore, we concluded that we should focus far more on marketing of these services. Because when they use it, they are very well evaluated. Well, we also asked, what do you think about SurfNet? Well, SurfNet is considered to be innovative, reliable, customer-oriented, and not bureaucratic. We were very glad to hear that. But about a quarter of these institutions also think SurfNet is a bit expensive. Well, we have to work on that. Regarding our portfolio, it matches well with the needs of the institutions, but not many people know about all the services we provide. When they use it, they are very enthusiastic about it, and they would like to see kind of service for remote storage that we don't provide yet. So this whole project resulted in some changes in our service portfolio. We made some new services that we already developed in the previous years. And we discontinued some other services that seemed not necessary anymore. We also try to make the services more coherent, and also in the next presentation you will see an example of that. We try to integrate content delivery, streaming video, more into our groupware application. Specific reports for institutions are added, and we are focusing more on operational excellence. Well, we also had some changes for innovation plans. Again, operational excellence deserves more focus. Stimulating of use, well, already said that. We also cut back a little on building new services, because at least temporarily for this year we want to focus on marketing of the existing services before we introduce new ones. So that was very shortly my presentation about user research. We are quite enthusiastic about what we've learned, and we're going to repeat this for the coming year. We will make some adjustments. We will include more special interest groups. As I said, there were 4. We are now going to 10 special interest groups. And we will make some slight adjustments in the surveys that we have been using. Okay, that's my presentation. Are there any questions, comments? Yes.
Tim Marshall, Janet. I was interested to see that 25% of your constituents think you're expensive, something I can sympathise with because it's something we find as well. Do you think the reasons for that are that people are not comparing like with like?
Yes.
Or could it be because some of the services that they weren't aware of are available to them, they're not using?
Yes, I think you're right in both assumptions. We start, our services, or IP services, start with 1 gig. And, well, we don't charge very much for 1 gig, but it's still more than if you only need 100 megabytes or so. So in that way, we might be expensive compared to if you want less for less. Yes.
Jan Grunterad, CESNET. You have very interesting results, but can you tell me how many manpower resources you put to these surveys? Because I believe it's not trivial effort needed for that.
Yeah. As I said, we hired a company, a research company, to facilitate most part of this research project. So we made the surveys. We selected the people to include in this project. but they wrote the reports, they implemented the survey, and they analyzed the results. I think in total we allocated about, I think last year we spent about 80,000 euros on this project.
I just wondered, did you discuss who you wanted to address the PR activities to or towards?
Okay, a good question, yes.
Is it institutions or individual users?
Sorry, can you repeat
Is
that?
it institutions, universities, or do you want to go directly to the individual users?
Okay, well, both. We will market this more to our contact persons at the institutions. And one of the results from this project that I haven't mentioned yet is that we also decided to focus less on students, what was always a very important group for us. But students are very hard to target because there's a lot of other companies with far more budget also trying to do that. And well, we simply can't compete with commercial banks or other institutions. And also students, after 4 or 5 years, they leave again. So it's a very difficult group to promote your services for. So we decided to focus more on teachers and researchers and less on students, although we'll still provide, of course, end-user support. Does that answer your, yeah?
Okay, any other questions for Dennis? Okay, let's give him a warm applause for his presentation. Thank you, Dennis. Okay, just a little bit of practical information. I think you all received an email already to fill in your feedback forms. We kindly advise you to do it immediately after each session, so that you don't have all the work within on Thursday to go quickly through all the sessions and give your evaluation. And Terena will give you a goodie if you do it. If you do 5 evaluations, you get a goodie from Terena. Okay. Now we give the floor to Maurice van den Akker from SurfNet. He's been working with SurfNet as account advisor for 5 years now, and is also project leader for the project to stimulate the adoption process of NRN services, and more especially in the field of security. But he will give us some nice examples of how to stimulate this adoption process, and also again in relation to the life cycle and portfolio management process. Thank you. Maurice.
Okay, thank you. I hope I can give you nice examples. I work for the same company as Dennis, SurfNet. This is only my new logo. So that's why the orange part you saw previously is, well, still the same company, only black and white now. I'm an account advisor. I talk to the institutes a lot. And well, we see with the Dennis survey, actually what I hear every day. SurfNet, you build great services, but we don't use them, sorry. Is anybody here recognizing this problem? Anybody? Yeah? Not too much, actually. Perhaps you could stand here and talk to me about how it's done, but perhaps you still don't know or need to do a survey or something. But this is our real problem, actually. We're building every year new services. We do that in a project way, or we think about new services. But we also involve institutes with it. We also ask what they want. We don't just do it technology push, but also demand pull. But anyways, this is always what we hear. Great services, SurfNet, but sorry. So that's what I want to talk about to you this 20-30 minutes. This agenda, 3 points. The causes, why do they like our services and why don't they use them, especially the last part, of course. We don't want to change them liking our services. The second one is our action we started this year, a project stimulating the adoption of services. And the third part is a special part of the project itself. It's about the dashboard project, which is a platform where all services are combined together. I will talk to you about that later. First part, the lack of usage. As I told, we are building new services every year. Services about security, services about authentication, authorization infrastructure, video services, group communication services, well, all kind of services institutes need. That's what we think, and that's what institutes tell us. SurfNet previously developed services mostly from technology push. So some people in innovation part of innovation office part of SurfNet thought about a great new technology, and they tried to build a service around it. And well, that was not what institutes always wanted, but they liked it. But they preferred more major services, more services that they asked for. They asked for specific, group communication services or video services. Hope you can follow me. So we also listened to them and built services they asked for. We also did lifecycle and portfolio management. We installed it at SurfNet to have a freshly up-to-date and every year evaluate service portfolio to see if it's still, if our total pack of services is still what the Institute wants. And as I said before, we involved the Institute in developing the services. So we asked them, hey, this is our new services, we're building it. Do you think we should do it different, or do you want to cooperate with us? And they say yes, and we sign a contract with them, and they are, legally bounded to us to develop the service, but still few users. So what could be the cause? First of all, when we look at ourselves at SurfNet, we see our website and we try to find our own service on it. And we can, imagine that it's not clear to our customers where the service can be found. That's the first one. Our services are developed by our employees, but they're building it separate, in separate islands, you can say. So there's a few people building the first service, there's a few people building the second, there's a few people building the third, but they are not talking to each other. So that means that one is using another logo, another user interface, putting it on a different part of the website, the other one is building a totally separate website from SurfNet. Well, you can imagine that it will be difficult for institutes to understand where they can find our services and oversee the whole portfolio. Second possible cause, what we hear is, and what we also know is that our services, we tell them that it's a production service, but when you really look at it, well, it's not as a real production service should be. In some of the parts, it's still a piece of innovation. There's no contracting partner who's maintaining the service on a right way. So there are a few things that could be better. There are a lot of good services as well, but some services are still in a development stage, and it's already told to the customer they are operational. So you can feel direction out there. On the other hand, if we look at the institutes themselves, they don't have time or sometimes no time to obtain knowledge to implement the service. Of course, when there's new services, when there are new services, they need to put time and effort in it to well, use it. And mostly they tell us they don't have the time and they don't have the knowledge. They want us to help them with it. The second part of the customer is that they know the service, maybe, but they don't know what it helps them with. They don't know what the benefits and costs are of the service. Point 5 is about the same as the first point. I should, as an account advisor, be more in contact with the institute and tell them what our portfolio is, but I don't have the time to visit them all the time, so I can't tell them every time what's new in our portfolio. So that's what they tell us as well. But perhaps customers don't need our services because there are better services in the market. Well, that's easy. We should not do that service if it's better in the market, of course, or cheaper or whatever. So we thought about these courses and we thought about a project stimulating the adoption of services. We divided it in a few parts because else it would be a too big project. And my responsibility is that of the security services, so that's why I'm focusing in on the security services here. But in the end, it's all about the same services, of course. Very different to ServNet nature is to have very hard targets for the account advisors, because they are the people who needs to do this project. We set the real target, increase the number of users, and the users is an institute, of specific service. So we said for the IDS service, we want at the end of this year 50 institutes use it, for example. For ServNet mail filter, we want 50. We want also 20 security teams installed at the institute, and so on. So that is really different from what we used to, real hard targets. We divided the project in 4 sub-projects. I'm going to explain those later on, after this slide. The first of all is the specific support to institutes, what we do. The second is stimulating this computer security incident response teams. Marketing communications is the third one, and the fourth one is, well, the presentation of service improving, and I call it here dashboards, because that's the platform where we're going to build it on. First one, specific support to institutes. What we need was to focus on each institute. Not all, we got, Dennis told us about 180 connected organizations, but we want to focus on a specific group which is, who wants to use our services actually, so that's about the half of the people. We need to investigate at those institutes the needs. What do they use now? What problems do they have? Why would they be helped by our services? And we need to write it down, and we need to, put that, if we in the end know what the customer needs, actually we want to sign a contract with the customer, what we from ServNet can provide to the institute, to the customer, and what the institute can must do to. I'm a bit fake now. Well, it's about in the text, but the institute needs to do an effort on their side to obtain the service, and we as ServNet needs to put effort to help the institute to get the service. That's actually what we want to put down in the contract. But before that, we need to investigate, of course, what's going on at the institute. So that's, in more or less words, the first program. I hope that's clear. Anyways, if you have questions, you don't have to wait until the end. You can ask them now, of course. What we also saw was, because most of the security services needs awareness of security problems, it is helpful to have computer incident response teams, acronym is CSIRT or CERT teams earlier. It's helping to have those teams in the organization of the institute, because when you have those teams, there's an awareness about security problems, and if there is awareness, they will use security-related services to help them securing the institute. So that's the second part of the project. How do we get these teams within the institutes? Well, we got two sub-ideas. First of all, we deliver a training. It's a Terena training, a transits training, which is meant for people to, be a member of a CSIRT team. That's a very effective training. It's 2 days, full days with, they sleep in a hotel with it, so a real training. And at the end of the training, they will be able to be part of a team. But, only having people being part of a team, that's not enough. We also need to help the people form a real CSIRT within the institute. So that's where Don, I put his photo here, is helping us, or helping the institutes to get those teams installed. So he will go to the institute, look what's organizational issues, look what's about the technical issues, and help them to form a real computer incident response team within the institute. Third part is, we need to focus a bit more on our way how to communicate our service portfolio. Because, if we had a new service, we put it on a mailing list to all our customers, just a normal, message telling, hey, there's a new service and you can do this and that with it. Or a flyer, and we send the flyer to all customers. But because we have very different groups of organizations, we have academical hospitals, we have universities, we have research institutes, we have TV and radio institutes. It's a real different focus we need to put there when our marketing strategy is filled in. So we need to look at it more specific. That's what we are doing right in this marketing communication part. We also want to enable communities with it, because when users are talking to each other about the services, you will get more talking about your service, and there will be more information, more knowledge about the service. So that will be good. The improving presentation of services part means that we want to bundle all services to one platform. Not scattered on the whole ServNet website, but just on one platform. Of course, you cannot put all services on one platform, so you need to, it needs to look like it's on one platform. That's the goal, eventually. We also want to add value to that platform, because when you have all services visible on one platform, you can also combine results of services. For example, we have two services. One is meant for intrusion detection, and one is meant for filtering spam. You can combine the results of those two when you get a lot of spam and there is a lot of intrusion detected. Well, you can build a kind of metadata to provide the institute more information about the security level it is in at that moment. Also, you can use reports to integrate to give more information, of course. Third of all, it would be nice if you have all on one platform to have the same look and feel, of course, of such services, because, well, when you are on one platform and you click on a service and you come on a very different, well, situation, it's not very good. So that we'll take also in our project. User manuals, very important. That's one of the mostly heard complaint about our service. Where's the manual? RTFM? No, we don't have DFM. And also what we want to do is implement a service monitor for all institutes, so they can see how well our services are performing, and they can also incorporate services they don't take from us but from a third party, or even they can look at the services they are offering themselves to the whole wide world. So that's the monitoring part we want to put in the dashboard as well. Give you visible explanation right now. So this is in the left top corner you see the web service and the monitoring tool. We call that the core applications. What we want to put in the dashboard. The second of all, it's well, the support. You can also groups communication, include groups communication with that. The communities who are talking about service, who say, hey, you've got to do this to obtain that, for example. So that's a support we thought about. Also a database with all frequently asked questions, for example. It's the second part. Third part is just a static information, a theme portal, a website. Well, don't know why the phone is there again, but it's mistaken. And of course the self-service applications, because you want to make sure your customers are able to change address parts, name parts, their own information within the system. Well, nowadays we just do it ourselves. We hear that they are married and have a different last name. Well, you want to let them do it themselves, of course. So integrated in one platform. So this is how it looks like at this moment. It's still under construction, and we try to have the first release in the next month, end of June. This is really all what we wanted to show. Of course, there are pages beneath, but this is what we want to have the institutes on a big screen, for example, in their room. Always look at the SurfNet services. That's our ideal idea, of course. Maybe it's not going to happen, but that's our idea behind it. Parts of the services: infrastructure, security, authorization, authentication, user services, all divided. And the most on the left side you can see whether you use the service or not, and we think, well, when it's showing that you're not using the service, it will stimulate people to use the service, and it should be one click and to use the services, or to register for a service and actually use the service must be very low. There must be no border to use a new service. So. And the other services which are used by the institutes will give a status symbol on the left side. Green is okay, no problem. Orange will tell them that there's something going on with that service that needs attention. That's the idea behind it. Also, it provides links to more information, to subscribe to a service, and to have help if you need, or to configure the service. You see in the top level the DNS management. When you press on when you click on the DNS management link, it will fold a small window and tells what kind of more information. But when you really want to do something with the service, you click on the service itself and you go back away from the dashboard to the service, and in the end you will be able to get back to the dashboard, of course. So that's more or less the idea. In the right top corner, there's more static information, and in this information we want to, well, for example, say that people are not having a good security level, that they need to contact us to have Don, the one on the picture you saw, coming by them to help them to improve their security level, to install a CSIRT, for example. So that's what we want to put in the right top corner. And on this side, we want to show relevant information. This is the IP traffic, for example, but when you have intrusions, you want to, well, show a graph of the intrusions, for example. So this is, it must be simple, it must be clear, it must be having all services within. That's the idea. Well, this was not a technical session, I believe Koen said, but I want to show you that the dashboard application is it's not easy to build, because all services are, well, scattered. All services are differently built. So when building a dashboard, there's a lot of intercommunication between the dashboard and the application in the end, and the service who is telling the status of service, of course. So we needed to put that all on SOA architecture to well, obtain a manageable, and it must be manageable, and also a platform that is able to how can you say? Well, it must be a building block principle. So when there's a new service, you have to put it in just an hour, for example. So that's the meaning that's the idea behind dashboard. New service, just plug it in, and all institutes see it on their dashboard application. And this is the idea we have, just an artist impression about how Negios, that's a service you can use to show the status of the of your network, for example, to integrate within the dashboard. That's the idea. But we are not building it yet. So that were in a flash all our ideas about how to stimulate the adoption of services. Do we have a hidden agenda? Do we want to well, feed our own institutes like this animal? No, we don't want to, of course. They tell us we really want to use your services, ServNet, and they have influence in our portfolio, and well, they ask us to build services they need, so they really want to get involved in the process. That's actually what they're saying us. So in this way, we think we obtained that idea. So merci. Any question? Does it well, bring you on to any ideas? Is some NRN thinking about doing the same, for example? Yeah, there are two.
Hi. You said you signed a contract with the institutions, and I believe this was specific to the CSIRT, setting up CSIRTs. But was it, or is that a thing you do for all your services?
Both. We have a contract which says to the I as an institute want to use this service, this service, this service, and this service, and ServNet will help me with it by doing that and that and that, and I will put effort in it, like this, like this, like this. That's the idea behind the contract. And for the CSIRT team, if it's really going to help a CSIRT team, we sign a different contract, which saying we as an institute want to install a CSIRT, and ServNet is going to help us, having Dawn going 3 days with you, and you can use the transit training. So that's the contract, the different contracts parts that are available.
Okay, and is there payment involved in the contract? And what happens if one of the parties, either the institute or ServNet, does not live up to its obligations according to the contract?
Yeah, that's always a juridical question, of course, but well, our how can you say, the atmosphere we have with the institute is not like penalties or so. So it's really if we tell that we're going to help, and if the institute is saying, okay, we're going to do it, eventually we don't need a contract, but it's good to have it. But we yeah, well, it's not legally. We're not going to use it legally. I cannot imagine that. But it's good to have it on paper, and everybody can look at it. Hey, this is what we're going to do. So it's good for the mind. That's actually the idea behind it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, welcome. I remember your question.
Hello, I'm from the Portuguese NREN, and we are starting more or less to deal with this kind of problem. And my question is, are you asking the institutes to put any kind of link between their internal pages, the pages for the ones that the students use very often to get things done in the relation between the institution and the students? Are you asking them to put a link to the dashboard in those internal pages, or so to increase the awareness about the services that lie behind their direct provider, or not?
Let me get a question clear. Do you mean that students use the...
No, I'm asking if you are trying to get the dashboard linked from the internal pages of the institutions.
Eventually, that's one of the possibilities, because the dashboard can be used for only ServNet services, but you can also, because it's easy plug-in, also incorporate the services of the institute. So that would be the best part, of course, when it's combined together with the new logo on it, and it's looking like it's the institute's internal sites itself. Yes. Okay. There's a question here in this part of the. You get good exercisement. That's good.
Is it intended that the dashboard replace partially or totally the current support service, i.e. the service desk and mail support and all that? Is that your hidden agenda?
Yeah, well, it's a clear agenda as I'm concerned. It should replace, because for each service we have different types of support. We have a 24/7 help desk, so that's always one entry. But we mostly see for each service that there are still ways around the help desk to other people. So it would be good to structure it in one platform. So that's true. We want to eventually we want to have it on the dashboard, all the support, all the help, so people can find information about the service very quickly. And use it more often. That's the idea.
Do you see already a result of your dashboard, or is it another service which is wonderful, but your customers don't use it?
Sorry, what was your last word?
You implemented this dashboard in order to get a better usage of your services, and I just wanted to know, do you have already a result that your services with the dashboard is now better used than before, or is your dashboard an additional service that is thought to be a good service, but your customers don't use it?
Yes, that's a paradigm I'm struggling with. That's true. I can't say anything about it because the first release of dashboard will be next month. So that's well where I'm hoping to see that the usage will increase. But we should pay attention that the institutes will use it. Because else, well, you just have another service people don't use. Yeah, you're right. Yes, so we're aiming for the best. But well, future needs to learn if it's the best or not. Good question, thank you.
Maurice, will it be by default offered to all users, all customer institutions, or?
Yeah, question is, will it be used by all users by default? Well, it's meant for the technical contact persons at the institute. First, it's not meant for all users at the institute, of course, because it will show the status of your security. For example, it will show privacy-sensitive information, and we will. Well, each institute will be able to obtain a login account for the dashboard. Yeah, and the institute itself can determine who of the institute can use the dashboard. There will be an application where they can do user management themselves, or of course that would be better use the Eduroam principles to log in. But that's our federation, what we want to push more. But that's a different topic. I don't want to say more about that.
Any other questions? No. Okay. Maurice, thank you very much for this interesting presentation.
Okay.
Next speaker is Victor Reis from Heenets. He's active there as the network development manager, and was formerly also active with Surfnet and further in the past with other commercial telecom companies. He will give us a presentation about service level management and more specifically how to implement service level agreements to your services and sell them or get some kind of agreement with your users about it, what quality a service should
be there.
Be there, okay. Sorry.
Or
okay.
There are no penalties. Somebody will ask perhaps that question, but it is a service level agreement, but at this moment we are not looking for penalties yet, so it's not a legal thing. But first of all, I want to say I'm presenting it, but the slides are from Anne Harding. Anne Harding has left HANet. It's a real pity, but she went to Switzerland for a good reason, so I think it's always good to move to other countries. But let's see, how do I get this one to move? Oh, that wrong one, okay. So first of all, it's about service level agreements. So there is normally you have service level agreements with your providers, but in this case we want also to provide service level agreements to our clients. It's not always that clients ask for these service level agreements, but I think it's also an internal aspect for an NREN to make clear what you are going to provide. So that's why I think we stimulated the idea of providing similar service level agreements to our clients. There were also a demand, to be honest. But so it is about giving us ourselves a clear idea what we are providing and seeing that we can prove how we can provide that. Furthermore, there are some clients who have their internal service level agreements to their clients or the departments and that kind of things. So in some way we can back up them with another service level agreement, like we back up our service level agreement with our providers. And I think for multi-domain, certainly in the European environment, more and more people are asking, what do you exactly provide? How good is your service? So I think also in that environment it's good to give some idea. It's a little bit like technology. It's synchronization of your needs in some way. I think it's in some way a nice slide. On the left side you see technology one way of SYNS in egg, and then both the client and the server know what each will do. I think in the question of a service level agreement it's almost the same. There are needs from a client. Then the server says, okay, I respect these clients and here is my agreement, and of course the client gives them an acknowledgement back of that agreement. So it's synchronizing the expectations. I think that's the main part. So what we did is identifying for each service we have, like hosting, an IP network, point-to-point links, and DNS services or whatever. We defined appropriate set of parameters which we can check and benchmark against. Furthermore, we want to benchmark our services towards other entrants, because some other entrants also do it or have ideas about how to do it. So I think it's also good to see how they are doing things, and also the service level agreement gives a concrete document there. And of course, it benchmarks your operational management of your services constantly, because you have to make sure that you can provide the services at that level as you promise to your clients. So what are the outputs of this whole process we are doing? In some way we want to get the process in for the operational management and accounting management and that kind of things for making these service level agreements. We do that by having templates available. So if a new service comes up, we can use a template for a service level agreement and just change some blocks of text. To do it, to make the measurements that are used within the service level agreement, you have to upgrade your management tools, of course, because sometimes you need better tools to give the 4 nines or the 5 nines or something like that. And I think it gives some recommendations for the future. As said, we provide these service level agreements to our clients. I think in some way we give the service level agreement at the moment that somebody starts. So somebody wants to get a service, and at that moment we say to them, these are our agreements. It could be that they have questions about it, but at least there is a communication path at that moment. After that, every year we are going to renew that service level agreement. Changes could happen because we have a better service, or we have a different methodology of providing that service, and that can be then part in that renewal of the service level agreement. And of course, if we want to provide new services to our clients, we also have to provide new templates and new concepts, and we have to educate our clients also with that. And we will specify that in the new version for that new service, so that we can have proper contracts with our clients. If you have your service level agreements, they are not static. We are just starting with it. I think this is the first year that we are starting with it. So the problem is that, you're getting new information, new ideas about it. You see that your service is better or worse, perhaps, although we hope not that will happen, but at least we have to review these service level agreements, and in some way we do that based on the performance we had in the past, and so that we can have a realistic agreement with our clients. So it is about change management, and updating management must be part of that whole process. There are ideas about, and I think somebody already mentioned that in a former session, is that what if we are not applying or compliant with the service level agreement? At this moment, there are no financial issues around it. It's not the best effort. We really want to give the services as described in the SLA, but there are no financial things to it. I think it's more, we report at least that things are going wrong, and we discuss that with our clients, so we make it very clear what went wrong. It also gives a signal internal our organization that if things went wrong, why it went wrong, so that we can take additional measures to improve it for the future. So it's more a constant improvement of the service than that it is about money. I don't think that money is solving these kind of problems. So, but it is keeping in tune with your users and their expectations. I think these are the points that are all important for service level agreement. There are the existing experiences we have in our network. You have the parameters, the metric, which is important. Let's say that you can have the service always available, 99.99%. So you understand, but you have to define what 99.99% means. Is that per year, per month, or per day? In principle, they are all different, so you have to make clear and a clear description of all these metrics. At least you talk with the client, which is important. I think talking with the client is one of the most important, and this gives you another tool to talk with the client in an agreement environment, but I think it's good to do that. And of course, a service level agreement almost only makes sense when you have service level agreements that's backed up by other people. It is first of all your organization, your own organization of course, but yeah, you have most of the service also from other people. So you can only guarantee 99% availability of the network if your IP provider, let's say for the commodity internet connection, also has something similar or better than what HCNet provides. Of course, there's room for improvement, and you always have to keep your mind open to that, and I think NRN has the obligation to improve and to innovate. So that will have a reflection on the metric and the way you handle service level agreement. And I think, yeah, the last, the light blue tolerance for non-compliance is, there are two aspects of that. I think that's one of the contractual ones, that it is not penalties, but it is an iterative process between the user and how we operate networks. The other thing is also that the value we provide in the service level agreement, let's say that 99% of availability of a network, is based on our existing experience that we can perhaps easily do 99.9%, but at least we want to be sure that we don't get for every incident a complaint for our user, or that we have to explain a lot and put a lot of time in that. So there is a tolerance in that sense also. So make sure that there is some leeway in errors. Yeah, what are the lessons learned by doing this? I think keep it simple. It's almost like most of the things, I think, certainly in the IP environment. Make it manageable, so minimize the work you need to do over there. Integrate it as much as possible in your existing tools you have or in your existing processes, so that it is only an additional thing for managing your service level agreement. Almost as if it is a normal way of working, because that is the most important, I think, of a service level agreement. That it is not, oh, I do it for the service level agreement. No, I do it for having a good service in my full network. So it has to be part of your existing procedures. And I think use your the roles and the context you have through this environment. Yeah? So keep using that. What is difficult? I think the most of the time the technical part in making the values is not that difficult. It's very easy to read out of a network how much the availability of a network can be. But it is most of the time getting the wishes from your user and make them interested in service level agreements is not, sometimes also very difficult. So it's more the human networking, I think, that puts more effort in making the service level agreements work than it is finding the real technical parameters. It are the processes and informing the client and the whole interaction with them. So that are the factors which are more difficult, and you have to put time in that. Yeah, new services or old services are, you have to invent the service level agreement, because they were normally not designed with the service level agreement in mind. I think for new ones, every new service has to be, by definition, has to have a service level agreement. Even if it is a very open one, even if you don't have experience with it, but at least you have to start with using that framework and making people aware that in the future there will be a service level agreement to be made up for that service. I think that is important, that every project you start up have a small section, define the service level agreement, use a template and find out together with the end users and the people you make the contract with, which are the essential parts in that service to make sure that you have agreement upon. So I said, you need templates, or at least that's what we did, so that we don't have to change the document every time when you have a new service. So we made a document for the service level agreement, which has a few sections like the description of the service, and there will be another slide, I think, where it comes more in, but at least a description and who is responsible and what are the escalation paths and that kind of things, and a metric, of course. So in some way that is describing what a service level agreement is. And it will describe all these kind of terms, because what is the word availability? What does that word mean? So you have to describe that, you have to define it in a document. And we have a document about how complaints can be handled, and how we have to internally fill in that document and make sure that everybody in the organization is then known that there was a complaint from a client, and why the client complained, and what was the reasons why he complained on the technical side, and how we are going to improve that for the future. So that are the things that are part of that RFO report. So how does that document look, where we describe the SLA in? This is the slide of the format of that document. There are more or less the sections of it. So there's a short description of it, telling what the service is, as good as possible, so that people know what we are doing about. The indicators are the ones that, where we are checking upon. So the availability is one. If you have a co-hosting service, you could have the delay in an IP network. But of course, if you talk about the delay, you have to say from what point to what point, because it could be on the other side of the world that people think that the delay is about. But it is, of course, you have to agree together how you measure and what your beginning and end point of such a delay is. Limitations is also in some way important. That it's not the limitations in the terminology, as I discussed earlier. It's more about some services, let's say we have resilience in our network, and some people could say that if you have a 10 megabit IP connection, and beside that they have an ISDN connection. And some people think that is resilience. In my opinion, that's not resilience on the technical side. A 10 megabit fixed resilience and let's say a 2 megabit ISDN primary rate connection as a backup. I don't see that as a service resilient. That's also how we call it. It's not that if one goes back, that you have still the same service. And it is, so in that document, we describe that if a client has only a 10 megabit and 2 megabit as a backup, we say that is not, we can't guarantee that you have a service resilience there. So it is also making clear again to the user what we mean with, for instance, the term resilience. But it also says that if something happens with your 2 megabit or with your 10 megabit, your main connection, then we can't guarantee everything, which is then outside of the service level agreement. But at least we know that from each other. And you do that beforehand, before that a problem arises. Problem management is who to connect, and escalation paths. So there are 3 levels there: operational, let's say the manager of the operational group, and then let's say the CTO or the CEO contact names. So what kind of reporting we are going to provide for doing that is also described, and what input is there, what we are going to measure, and also sometimes you're even presenting that on a constant web page. It's not like in SurfNet with a fully fledged tool, but I think we are using Nagios to give at least some values over there to the users so they can check it themselves also. We define the periods of the review of the service level agreement and the processes, how that will be done and who is being involved in changing such a thing. And as I said, the inclusion or limitations of ISDN links, I think I already discussed that. So what are the lessons also here learned? It's comparable to let's say, setting up and thinking about the service level. These are the lessons about making the document. I think, again, keep it simple about things. I think what is handy is that it's a one-pager, our document, or 1.5 page. I think depends on how big your font is. But at least it gives you a good look of what it is, and it gives a good description of your service. So, and it makes clear who to contact and so on. So I think there are good things there. We're saying that we want to encourage the take-up of quality in service. I think that's what we are trying to do. And one of the things is also that it makes us aware as a network organization not to use poor technologies. Yeah? Because we have the idea to make a service level agreement. So don't start with poor technologies, start with the ones that you think are really production capable. Yeah, and the emphasis of improvement, as I said about the feedback, that are not financial punishments or that kind of things. It's about getting the services we provide to everybody better and learning from the steps we did. The tools seems to be the least problematic area. In some way, because we already had some tools of them already in our environment. I think the biggest tool we are using here is the Nagios one. And at least we had to do a few tweaking there to see enough nines in the software, because it was only related to, I think, 1.9.9 or 3 nines, sorry, 99.9. But we wanted to show a little bit more nines if the service was indeed better than that. So we had to do something there, and we had to update the internal processes indeed to check properly every day the status of all the services. And perhaps we did it in former times also, but now there is an incentive to do that, to make sure that you react as fast as possible on any alarm that comes out of your system. It seems that one of the lessons learned is that technology is the easiest, and it's more the human aspects, how do you utilize that kind of things in your network and the processes and getting the user involved and getting it signed and that kind of things are the things that take time. Here is an example. I don't know if you can see it, but this is the Nagios page, and at least you see there the green part is that when it was okay. In this case, it was 99.979. Available, the service, in the last 31 days, as you can see on the right up part. And there was a critical outages for 0.021%. And if you count them together, it's 100%. And you can see here when these kind of things happened. So it gives you a nice idea when things were wrong, when things were okay. And in principle, the clients are allowed to have to see this. And in some way, we make also the reporting based on this tool. These are the ones we are going to do in 2007. So that's this year. It's the first year that we do it. So we don't have much experience yet let's say in the formalizing of this kind of things, but at least it was appreciated by our clients. So we do it for the IP connectivity, for hosting, point-to-point services, and for the support services we can give to our clients. I think, these decisions are based on the client or the community interest about it. It is, it is a market competition in some way. Other people also always saying we do it at 99.99%. So we can show also now HANet can also do it. Yeah, we have the figures and they are formally given to our users. And we want to see if it in this year also if it really gives us enough tools to make decisions about the value and the differences and so on in our network, and see what we have to do in the future, of course. Again, the lessons learned in general is now it was difficult to get the user and the client input of making and setting up the service level agreement. But again, it was very positive when we installed these new services. And I think, again, it is essential that the service level agreement is so routine, has to be a really part of your operational network. In some way, you shouldn't know that there is a service level agreement. You should do your work indeed according to these principles. So conclusions. It's easy to do it. So why not do it? I think you don't have to be afraid. I think about legal things. I think in our environment, I think you can handle that and can get the right path. I think all the values we have are quite NREN and service specific, certainly at this moment, but perhaps in the future it is possible that we can get some better idea how other NRENs do it, and perhaps we can converge to values that are closer to each other and make sure that very low values don't exist. The most important, at least, is that the quality expectations of the users are according to what we can provide. And I think, it's always better. I think the clients ask for it in some way, but I think it's better to take the initiative. Yeah? And I think we did it in this case. We know that there were some risks about penalties and whatever, but I think we are the ones, at least, who started this. I think the NREN was the one, and so it's good for our stakeholders. I think they see that we are willing to expose us a little bit more, and that we want to listen to them, and that we want to provide the best services. So I think it is about openness and making sure that the expectations on both sides are correct and that everybody knows what is there. So that's what I wanted to say. There are a few thanks there. We have a strategic group in HANet. We have some strategic things, and there was a group working on this, so that helped making this. The operational team of HANet has to implement it, so they were very good in that. And I think that the task force of life cycle and portfolio management helped us also to make this as a document, because you can talk with other NRENs about this kind of things, and it always helps to make things concrete and more that it works in a good environment. And not only perhaps in our network, but also in others. So thanks for listening to me. If there are questions, then there's still some time, I think, before lunch. There's one. I also have one question if nobody has a question. So.
Thanks, Victor, and thanks, Anne, behind you, who helped in making this. I just want to say one thing about the role of the client in this. We're not, our aim wasn't to stop clients complaining. On the contrary, we see the function of the client as number one, to sign the contract, number two, to pay the bill, and number three, to complain. And long may that persist. And they have every right to complain to us about anything, and that's a good thing. So we're not trying to do away with that. Those channels are still there, and I think the service level agreement, if there are complaints, they focus them a lot better. Thanks.
Yeah. Other questions? Yeah?
Victor, you said you're going to include support services within the SLA this year. What exactly are you going to measure as your performance? Because it's not just how many you've answered, it's whether you've answered queries and dealt with the customer properly.
Sorry? Yeah. No, I think what we are doing is, it is about how fast we respond to actions, or let's say if a user asked or complained that something was wrong or that the network was not working, and we have to respond in that for, let's say, within 15 or 60 minutes time. I think it's that kind of things that we put in at this moment in the support service level agreement. Yeah. So it's how fast we are in providing the support in the know. We want to do more, but I think we did, let's say, the basic things to get the thinking right.
It's 4 nines again. 99.9% responsibility within.
Yeah, 15. Who's doing service level agreements? Are there more who are doing? So 2 networks. Ukraine, okay, Belnet. Another one. Okay, good. And what are your experiences? Happy? Are there pitfalls? There are pitfalls. Okay, there also.
We've been having service level agreements on our IP connectivity for 5 years now. Until now, we have the impression it manages really good the expectations of our customer client institutions, that we never got one request for an SLA penalty or something like that. So until now, it's
That's good.
Yep.
But I think there was a negative one, I think, or at least, I don't know if it was negative, but at least saw some nodding or, yeah.
I think you've got to be very careful that the SLA doesn't take over what you're doing.
Yeah.
And it's very easy for the technology-based, the network services to actually measure things.
Yeah.
But certainly for the things that I provide with customer services, where it's documentation, answering the phone, dealing with it properly, events, training. How on earth do you measure that?
Yeah, no,
we can say, yes, I've done 25 of this training course, but were they any good?
No.
And I'm more interested in how you can actually measure whether we're delivering what the customer wants in those cases.
Yeah.
And I think that's an interesting area that I'd be interested to talk to people about.
Yeah, it's getting your metric correct. It can be technical, but if it is indeed human things or training, it is very difficult. Okay? I can imagine, yeah.
Yes, I just follow up on that because it's interesting. Having previous to this sector, I was in the commercial sector where the SLAs were hammered out. You worked 23 hours in the day to hammer them out pre-contract. After the contract, you hardly ever looked at them because usually you had a measure which was the bottom line. And frankly, you didn't bother with the SLA after that. What I've found in this sector is because of what Shirley's just said, because people find it very hard, we don't have a bottom line to understand what that bottom line effect is. There's a lot of resource put into comparing SLA numbers, which actually are totally irrelevant to the service we're delivering, but seem to keep a lot of people in work and allow a lot of discussion to happen, which actually have absolutely no value to the service we're providing. So I'm like Shirley, because not surprisingly we're from the same place, very keen to understand what those metrics are, what those measures are, that actually give us as conscientious suppliers some comfort that we're getting somewhere near delivering the service that we aspire to. And 97.9 or 99.9 or 99.9 recurring doesn't really give us that sort of buzz. It's more about understanding, are we delivering the service that people really want? And as soon as we can move to that, and those are not necessarily SLA numbers.
In some way, I agree, but I think we had nothing. And I think in that, let's say on the technology side at least, and I think there it helps even internally to prioritize certain things. So I agree that as soon as if you're always above that level, then it's not important anymore. But sometimes making people aware of these levels is very important. Certainly internally, and I think also externally, because I think you have to manage your expectations.
Just a quick, it is on or is it?
Yeah,
it's on.
I think so,
right.
yeah.
Well, I'll shout.
Yeah, I hear you.
Guido Aben with Arnet. By and large, our experience is positive, but there is a degree of number fetishism in it. Where we've seen that, I mean, because you're no longer supplying a service, you're supplying a number attached to a service. There is a fetishism where we've had customers who delayed an upgrade for months, in fact, because the number would go down. Of course, I mean, when you take one of the resilient links down, you're all of a sudden you enter into a non-critical but raised alarm situation where you can't, well, blah blah blah, technicalities. So they remained in the technically less sound situation for months because the number would stay up. So in fact, the service was worse, but the number was better. I mean, I don't know if anybody is familiar with that kind of situation or. So the fetishism, by focusing on the numbers, you've sort of got yourself in a Mexican standoff where you're no longer able to, focus on what the situation should be. So it's become really hard to get those people on around the table and talk to them about, well, what we're actually trying to do is make your network better. They were going, well, we can't have that because the number's good now. That's the only caveat that I would know of.
And I think you have to be aware of that, And it's good that you said it, I think. It's a good point. Thanks.
Any other questions? Okay, first of all, thank you, Victor, for this very interesting presentation. Thank you. I take the opportunity also to mention that On the Terina website, you can find DF LCPM pages of the Task Force for Life Cycle and Portfolio Management. And there you can find more information about, for example, service level agreements, management, exchanging ideas on developing new services, and service portfolios of other NRNs. And to finish, I would like to invite you all tonight also to the BUF at 5:45 tonight about co-development of NRN services, where we try to exchange ideas about new service and which services can be produced in co-development with other NRNs. Yes, and that's for tonight. So if you still have some time and some energy left, please come to this BUF. Okay, thank you very much, and I wish you all a very nice lunch this afternoon. Thank you.